And here we are.
Sweet.
We're just going to sit down. I don't have a title for this. Nicole is here, so we have no idea what we're going to talk about. We haven't discussed anything at all. And go.
Well, I've just been in your factory and we were talking about this thing that happens to me in business. I'm going to run this one by you, where I build, and I work myself to this point where I know I can keep up and then I can't keep up and then I don't admit it to myself. I go into denial for a while and then I realize I need help. And then I finally start setting up the systems I should have set up 6 months ago to make it replicable so I can actually hire somebody to help me. Do you do that at SOE?
Oh, fuck no. No, because if I don't do it from the beginning, I'm already moving at a pace. And when I throw other people into it, it completely stops me.
Yeah.
If anything, I am not a good leader. And that is my downfall. But I have perseverance. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm never going to stop. I'm not going to succeed or win because I was the smartest or I had the best plan. I'm going to succeed and win because I simply won't stop.
That makes sense.
And really, I probably need to go into something with somebody that does have that planning capability and that foresight. But I'm really fast. Like, I'll correct you once, I'll correct you twice, but especially if I'm like, hey, this is what we need, this is how this needs to happen, and they demonstrate they can do it, and then it deviates back to not doing it, I'm done with that person. Mm-hmm. Like, if society collapsed, we would eat that person. They wouldn't exist anymore.
You might eat your sheep first, though.
No, I would eat the person. I wouldn't eat the person, but the person would definitely not be in the crew anymore.
I saw your sheep are ranging free. Are you rotating them at all, or are they just wandering around? What's up with that?
Can you turn my headphones down like 2 clicks?
Yeah. See, I told you I'm a loudmouth.
There we go. Perfect. So they got out because we had to put the skirt on there, right?
Yeah.
We first put the sheep in there without the skirt because we didn't have it, and the littlest one got out, and the others they were smart for sheep. They're like, oh, this is how we get out. So then we put the skirt on there. We moved it around, and then they freaked out when we had 70 people walk past there to go to the swales.
Yeah.
And they got out, and we just never recaptured them.
Okay, so they're just running around.
When we put them in there, we had plenty of grass. I'm like, oh, this is perfect. We've got plenty of grass. Well, as you see, there's not any grass.
No grass
here.
left on the SOE compound.
So I've been I sent Cody, and I'm like, hey, when you go to the co-op, get me some Timothy hay, or tell them we have sheep. Yeah. Surely they'll be like, okay, this is what you need. And he came back with like bags of pellets, the most expensive thing you could possibly
Yes,
feed
you need
sheep.
Timothy hay too.
So in the back there, it's now starting to grow grass, but I'm not confident that, like, the grass we grew, we put down ballpark fescue, right? Mm-hmm. And you hear you hear Greg Judy's like, fescue's poisonous, fescue's toxic. And then you hear other people like, oh, they can't have clover. I'm like, well, shit, we have nothing.
That's all you've got.
Yeah, that's exactly
welcome to Tennessee.
Yeah, that's what, and we planted thousands of dollars of this seed because it was fast growing. It would, cover the ground because we just did so much dirt work so fast.
We've been overseeding with Timothy grass as we go, and there's fescue there too, and there's clover, and they eat some of it, but they pick, as long as they have something. Yeah. They're not going to do that to themselves.
And I think an animal's smart and will eat something that's better for it usually until it has nothing but that.
Yeah, I was weeding near the sheep and throwing the grass from my garden over the fence, and they were eating it as I threw it over. They thought that was pretty cool.
We trimmed out a bunch of fruit trees. Yeah. So I threw those over. They didn't eat any of that. Like, they would not eat. I mean, nothing. They didn't even, like, they went up, nibbled on it, and they're like, we don't want this stuff.
Yeah. Box elder they'll eat, though.
I don't think I have any box. Like, I was given, I mean, maybe I do. I don't know. But I was cutting, like, pears and apples and cherry, and then I heard you're not supposed to give them cherry. And peaches.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of tastes like candy to a goat. I don't know if the sheep went into our fruit at all, but when the goats get out, it's straight to the peach tree. Yeah, these were not. Yeah, we even put it in the pins with them when they were confined. Yeah, we have really good luck with the box elder, which you probably have some in your forest. I'd have to see it when it has leaves on.
Is that the helicopter seeds?
Yeah, it's the helicopter seeds.
We have those. They get in the aquaponics and grow through the
Yes,
foam.
they do. They grow everywhere. That's why I was like, there's no way you're in this state and don't have that. But I've actually pollarded all mine because now I'm just harvesting it and feeding it to the sheep, and they love it.
Yeah, I feel like my sheep are behind the growth curve. Like, I need to go look at Barry's sheep to see what mine are supposed to look like.
Yeah, well, they'll get there. They were young when you got them anyway.
Yeah,
they came from Ken.
They came from Ken, but Ken has that
stun method.
Yes, that mindset that, like, I'm not doing anything to help them, and they're going to live through sheer determination. So maybe,
Mine will be way stronger than his then.
well, they don't have to fight so much for food because he has so many.
Right.
He has a lot of land, though, doesn't he?
He does.
Yeah. I think they just had babies,
I think
too.
it's. I think we have no idea how much land is there because he has access to so much more land too.
Yeah.
It's a amazing.
I want to get
place
out there and see that place sometime.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's about 10 minutes from here.
Cool.
Yeah, about 10 minutes.
Do you want to talk about your theory on people who are not neurodivergent people?
I think anybody that right now is between the age of 42 and 50 is somewhere on the spectrum of ADD, ADHD, or autistic. And I think that because when you start looking at the behaviors of everybody around you in those age groups, we all have those things that you can check off that box. And I don't know if it's just from the way we were raised or something that they gave us, or
I can tell you what it is.
what.
We used to have PE.
Yes.
We would get to school and you were outside for 30 minutes running and you were playing vigorously, right?
Yep.
Or you're the weird kid. If the weird kid wasn't playing vigorously,
Right.
but typically you were running, you were chasing girls and pulling ponytails, and
I was kicking boys in the shin.
Climbing ropes,
we were
wall
climbing
ball,
ropes.
whatever.
We had jungle gym sets that were taller
Yeah.
than the building. We were on swings, and when we were on the swings, the goal on the swing was to try to get the swing to go upside down,
Around, yeah.
or to see how far you could jump off. Right?
Yep.
Well, they're not allowed to do that anymore.
That's not still the goal?
No, they don't have any. There's no swings at school anymore. There's no monkey bars. We don't have a physical fitness test. We had to run 2 miles once a week when I was in the 5th grade. We were outside at 10:15. You were back outside for 30 minutes. At lunch, you were outside for 30 minutes, and then you had PE after that sometime later in the day. So you're a good hour and a half, 2 hours out of the day. Now we take kids and we lock them inside. And the first thing for the teacher is, because they're not exercising the kids, they want to sedate the kid. So you have people now who have grown up from that are on medications that do sedate them. And then you have other people that are just bouncing off the wall. And then when you add into that stimulants. Now you can just go get stimulants. Kids in younger age didn't have stimulants like that. Lack of vitamin D, lack of nutrition, and we're feeding just fake foods. Look at the ingredients of the foods that we're feeding kids, and you can't even recognize most of the ingredients. And then you add into that fluoridation of water, chlorine, bromine, blocks the uptake of iodine, which completely change your endocrine system. So we have people that are just, there's more chemicals in them than an actual human being. And if you go back, like, when did ADHD, when did the term come to be? When did you start? When was the first time you heard autism? Because if you look at the numbers from autism, and they're not necessarily, all the shit I just said doesn't necessarily cause autism, but a lot of people, a lot of children who have autism, if you remove gluten from them, there's a thing called grain brain. And when you look at this, you take nonverbal kids that become completely verbal or start to speak who have never spoken a word, and the only change is that they've removed gluten and wheat from the diet. So maybe that's it.
I don't know.
Maybe it's part of it. I think it's conditioning for that age range that you're talking about. I mean, they tried to test me for ADHD in 3rd grade.
Because it's really not a girl thing.
Yeah, my mom said no. She wouldn't let them test me because she didn't want to put me in special ed because she wanted me to be able to get along with people. But my brain doesn't work like other people's. And that's okay.
And maybe that's it. I mean, we send these kids to government school, and like when I was in school, we would come home with a little bit of homework because we didn't do the homework.
Yeah.
And then when my kids were in school, and I've got kids that are 5 years apart from each other, so we saw, and Tyler, my first son, my oldest son, had my 4th grade, 5th grade teacher.
Oh, nice.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm reading social studies, and it's not at all what I was taught as social studies. The curriculum has changed. And then Cody had the same teacher also 5 years after that, and it's completely changed. And they don't have outside, there's no PE anymore. There's not a real emphasis on science, and everything has changed. Like the books that were in the library are no longer the same books that were in the library. It's just very bizarre to watch that. So, and they would come home and they'd have hours of homework. I'm like, why aren't you doing the homework, right? You have my kids, and really when you start talking to other parents and you start really paying attention to what's happening, they have your kids for 8 hours and then send your kids home with hours more homework during the day. Well, you've had my kid all this time. Why can't you teach my kid whatever needs to fit into your framework? And then he comes home with 5 more hours of homework. So your first instinct is, why aren't you doing your homework, right? And then when you get to you really start looking at it, that is not the case at all.
No.
So you've been indoctrinating my kid all this time. You've got my kids. What the fuck is it that you are teaching them that they still have to come home with all this homework?
Well, what are you conditioning them for when you send them home with that much homework? Because that's the more important question.
Right. And
it's not like this is the kids on the AP track who want to do that in theory or are driven to do that. It's conditioning for something, and I don't see the result of what it would take to get all your homework done when it's that, because it is an extreme amount of homework. I don't see that playing out in the workforce.
No, it's not. It's not in the real world at all. It's like Common Core math. Yeah. Who the fuck is going to do anything that has anything? You can't even communicate with a person about real math. You're just adding a bunch of bullshit. I don't need to know how the fuck the process works. I need the correct answer.
Yes.
Right? Show me a job where I'm going to Common Core some shit that's going to transition into somebody giving me money. They want results, right? I need that door to be able to fit in that hole, in that opening. It has nothing to do with your bullshit that you've made up that didn't fucking exist. It doesn't translate into a craftsman, a machinist, an engineer. It doesn't translate anywhere. So why are we doing this? It's almost as though they are doing it so that parents can't teach their children and can't have that relationship. And now we need that body of people to teach them this new spell or whatever the hell it is.
It's interesting because right as I was driving up here, I was listening to the survival podcast, which I tend to do when I have long drives. And one of the things Jack was talking about, his question was, what's the universal language?
Correct. So
and the answer was math. Yeah. So when you disrupt the math cycle, you actually disrupt our ability to communicate with each other. At the same time, like the math just keeps coming back into my life this week. So earlier this week, I was learning about the concept of zero and which cultures had it and which didn't, and the timeline on where it came to be a concept of zero. And for some people that didn't exist. And it's really interesting. It's like, what did our minds have to do to have a definition of zero? And then its impact on math is huge.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So by disrupting how math works, you're disrupting our ability to communicate generation to generation. And it's frustrating for those of us who did math differently because we don't get how Common Core works. I actually finally figured it out one day. I saw somebody post a meme about how this is bullshit, and I'm like, I finally understand what they're trying to teach there.
What are they trying to teach?
It was basically to conceptually take the number, break it into pieces, and then put it back together to get the answer. Right? As opposed to, I've memorized a bunch of things, and it's
what I was gonna say.
7,000 times faster.
Yeah.
But I finally saw, I was like, wow, that's a lot of work to get to the same answer.
Yeah, You're talking long division there.
Yeah.
It just, none of it makes any sense. So what is it really for? It's just like you and I have words that mean things, but when you talk to younger people, that same word doesn't mean the same thing, right? You change the meaning of the word, you co-opt that word, right? So why, right? I can't see any reason where there's a positive benefit. It is only a negative benefit to change the verbiage that already exists. So I don't see what is the real reasoning, right? Is it insidious? And I almost always feel like it is insidious.
It disrupts communication too, right?
Yes. It's like having a person you're not allowed to vote because you can't read.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're not allowed to read, you can't vote. It's along those lines. It's the same shit.
And if you're taught that certain words should trigger you, you won't read through them for the meaning, the core meaning. Because the biggest arguments I see people, like the knock down, I hate you forever arguments often happen over some shit like that. Like,
give me an example.
I'll see people melt down over using the word Indian instead of Native American while they're explaining something about a reservation. And what they're explaining about the reservation is that the way it's structured has not empowered the people who live there because, A, dependency on the federal government, and they can't really allow
What is the person?
It's harder to allow freedom to permeate, right? Okay. Because they used the wrong word to explain this.
Right.
The other person's so pissed off they don't see the big picture and they go after them for using a different word.
The person who's upset, what do they typically look like?
They're usually white.
Correct. It's not. It is not a Native American, nor is it an Indian. That's virtue signaling. I have no time for them. You don't get to participate in my conversation because we didn't invite you. We didn't ask you. You're not on the board. Let's talk to the people who are involved, and let's talk to the people that can make the change. Like we take less than 1%, and we put 95% of the attention on them because we've given everybody a voice when truly everybody should not have a voice. You can have a voice about whatever you want, wherever you're fucking at, but if you can't affect it, then you don't get a fucking say in it.
Well, just because you have the right to freedom of speech does not mean I have to listen to it.
Correct.
And that's a piece people don't get. They'll come to my, my things and start basically becoming cancerous participation people in my community and saying shit that it's just unempowering. That's not how we work. Right. If somebody has a problem, we'll help you troubleshoot it. If you need to vent and want to vent for a minute, that's fine. But if what you're doing is calling somebody stupid and you'll never make it, who all they're doing is starting to drive Uber because they want to get some side income, and you tell them there's no way you can go from that amount of income to, a rich person and it's all rigged against you. That's not really supported in my network.
Does that happen?
That specific example, no, but other things along that lines have happened. And then I'm like, well, you got to stop that or you got to go. With freedom of speech. No, we don't have to listen to you.
Freedom of speech gives you the right to say whatever you want in your living room.
Yes.
Not in my living room.
Right.
See, they always want to cite those rights, but it only works when it's in benefit to them.
Correct.
Not to other people. And you don't have freedom of speech in my property. You can come here. We're all here for a common purpose, but you can easily be asked. It's because we don't throw people outside the castle gates anymore, right? Where there's not walls and nobody lives in a manner in the United States where an animal will eat you or somebody will do true harm to you.
Right.
And that's a false sense of security, but most people have never lived with a hardship like that where something truly will kill you. People haven't lived in a manner where we don't know if the power is coming on or you might just freeze to death. Now it happens. People do freeze to death.
Yes.
Those people have not experienced a situation where they freeze to death if they don't get the fuck up and go to work. They're constantly worried about some shit that, number one, they can't change, and number two, typically, not always, but most of the time, when you look at them, I don't want to be involved in anything in their life. I definitely don't want to live like they live.
Well, and it typically doesn't even affect them.
And it gives them a voice, and it makes them feel like they're actually doing something without physically doing something. They don't actually do anything most of the time.
But that's why I like the people who show up.
Yes.
Somebody might annoy me in my community. Just some personalities are annoying to anybody. And I'll meet them in person and the annoyance goes away because I see the body language and I understand now. And then when they say whatever the thing is they always say online that annoys me, I'm like, oh, that's just them being a little insecure today. And I'll move on with my life and not participate in that discussion. And I think that's something that as these digital communities get stronger and stronger, they're so powerful. If you forget about the more important in-person thing, you're screwed.
Yeah. I'm faster, I guess, as I get older, I'm faster to remove irritation from my life because I don't have to do it anymore. I don't have to have somebody near me that irritates me. We put on a live feed and there's dudes that show up every single night that definitely don't jive with any, like you're clearly not.
There was one in there last night.
There always is. Always.
Yeah.
And I'll say something and they will I'm like, look, man, why don't you go do your own live feed? Because you are countering the entire message that I'm putting out. So go the fuck somewhere. And the more you push them away politely,
the stronger
they hold on, right?
Yeah.
So it'll get to a point where one day you just won't be able to fucking comment on any of my shit. Yeah. Like, and what for? I mean, we did 1,085,000 views on our shorts in 2 weeks.
Congratulations.
So we've been doing them for 30 days. Yeah. And the graph goes like this and shoots straight up.
Yeah.
It's all the Glock talk where Jeff's like, Glock is the worst pistol in the world, right? Does he believe it? No, I don't. He does. I'm like, what are you carrying? He's like, a Glock.
He wouldn't carry it if he believed it.
We have 32,000 comments on that video on YouTube, and we have 300,000 comments on that video on TikTok. It's all people, you're stupid, you're fat, you're a FUD, you're this, you're that.
Yeah.
It's people who, every now and then I'll see one and I'll just comment, and I'm like, hey, I've had this YouTube channel for 14 years. I have 3,500 videos. Thank you for finally commenting. And that's why, I mean, it's moving the numbers.
Yeah.
And a dude showed up on live last night. I'm like, hey, he's like, hey, I really like what you're doing. I'm watching some of your videos. I'm like, how'd you get here? He's like, I saw your Glock video.
Mm-hmm.
So we get some conversion that is of benefit.
Right.
So it's just bizarre. And I say that all the time. I'm like, people will spend so much time and effort on things that they don't like.
Yes.
Whereas if they would just put 10% of that energy into things they do like, it would completely turn your life around. It would completely change the course of your life. Mm-hmm. All those things that you're saying that you wish you had or you wish you could do or whatever, because when it truly is, and people told me this when I was younger, and I couldn't accept it. I couldn't, because if I accept it, it means I was wrong in what I was doing, in that when you deal in positivity, you're going to attract positivity. Mm-hmm. And when you put energy into negativity, negativity is coming back to you in your life. And it really is as simple as the light switch, turning it one way or the other.
Well, I would say I'm somebody who had a bad poverty mindset at one point in my life. So I'm proof you can turn it around.
Because you believed that to have money was evil.
There was some of that. And also I didn't think it was attainable for me because the game was rigged against me.
Well, it is.
It is. Now I know what the game is.
Yeah.
Same rules. I guess I have slightly different rules than people who are billionaires, of course, but that doesn't mean that I can't build prosperity in my life and I can't help people around me build prosperity. And part of that mindset is I can't afford X, right?
Correct.
Like I can't afford to get work done on my mouth because that's been my focus. Well, I'm certainly affording it, right? It's really, I choose not to buy the thing that I quote unquote can't afford. And sometimes that thing is a 5-year project, depending on how fast you acquire wealth. Mm-hmm. But if you choose to afford a thing, you'll afford the thing. And once you stop telling yourself the I can't part of that, then you start forcing yourself to admit, I actually don't want that.
Exactly.
And I'd rather focus on this other thing. And when you start empowering people, it helps them and you develop relationships. And I mean, for me, like when I looked back at every benchmark I've had that's drawn me towards where I am now, there's a person attached to it every single time.
Right.
You know, I took action, but the opportunity came because somebody said something, somebody did something, somebody saw me doing well and helped me do better. Mm-hmm. And that's because I was open to having those relationships. And I would have never had them had I come around and said, life's a bitch, then you die. That used to be what I said. That was my motto as a teenager. That is the story I told myself. Life's a bitch, then you die. I'd probably already be dead if I would have kept along that line.
Sure.
Yeah.
You can see those people. I follow a YouTube page. It's called What the Fuck Portland.
I'm from Portland.
Oh, I can only imagine.
And there's another Arizona one too, where it's just homeless people.
Yeah.
And there's homeless people out there that truly, fell on hard times, and there's mothers with kids, but the majority of them are that. I'm sure at some point they had that mindset, and the drugs have just fucking riddled them.
Yeah.
That's just who they're like zombies now.
Yeah. And I've seen people go through such hard things and end up in such good places that, whenever some basically minor annoyance comes up in my life, that I'm like, this is a barrier I have to get over. I'm like, you're retarded, Nicole. Mm-hmm. This is not that big a deal. You just have to deal with it and go on.
Right. Most people's problems are self-induced.
Yeah.
Not always. But the majority of the people that I come into contact with, when they're like, I can't do this thing, or they tell you they want to do something, so I rapid fire 10 ways to move towards it, and they start giving me reasons they can't. Well, we're done.
Excuses. Those are excuses.
Excuses, yeah.
It's bizarre. I got to go get a hoodie.
Okay. It is a little chilly, but I got my jacket on.
Keep talking.
Now it's girl talk time.
I don't know how to do that.
Let's talk about. I know. That's why we're friends.
I've never been one of those people who's like, oh, I'm gonna go hang out with the girls.
Yeah, every one of my female friends has never been one of those people. It's just there's a different mindset there. I don't know. I can't put my finger on what that is.
So I really believe that it's like, I don't feel like I need a break from my life. I don't feel like I need to disassociate in a way where I exclude my husband from my fun, you know? Like, if I had a bunch of small children, I could maybe understand. But even when my kids were young, like, we would just go out with ourselves and not the kids, right? But it was never like, I'm going to go hang out with 4 of my best girlfriends so that I don't have to be around my kids. That's not...
That actually makes a lot of sense, because I don't feel like I need to escape from the holler either. Like, it's hard to get my ass out of there unless I, need to get out of there. So that's a good point.
And I believe that so many people live lives that they're so disenchanted with, that they have settled for things that they really don't want in order to attain the 2 weeks vacation or the white picket fence or the perfect family or whatever, and so they settle for something that doesn't fulfill them, and therefore they need an escape. I have to go have my girls' night.
Yes.
And it's like, because you need to feel unhindered to go act in a way that your husband would look down on, or what? Like,
blow off steam. That's the thing. I used to have to blow off steam.
Well, I understand that.
But I think that's what they're doing. It's just your husband can watch you blow off steam if you're blowing off steam. Right.
Well, typically I use him to blow off the steam.
That's his job.
That's yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know. I think that we have sold our population this bill of goods that is just so sad.
Well, we're supposed to live a life that they tell us we're supposed to live.
Right.
And then in the last, I'd say over my lifetime, so I'm 50, and I only started noticing this probably 30 years ago, it has changed every 5 years what that is.
Yes.
Like, what's supposed to happen, and the people who try to keep up with that. Remember the 80s and the yuppies?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's really high pressure at that point. And the minute you stop comparing yourself to everybody else, everything's better.
It's so funny because probably a decade ago, we were in Nashville eating, and this girl, super cute girl, obviously big into fitness, wearing this cropped hoodie. In the back of it, it said, "Comparison is the thief of joy." And I was like, holy shit.
So true.
That is so fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Because how many people do you know who have low self-confidence because they compare themselves to somebody on Instagram or whatever? And so I posted about that, and John was like, "Why did you do that?" And I said, because it's so true. Like you completely ignore all of your accomplishments when you compare yourself to somebody else.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, but you don't do that, do you?" And I was like, I mean, I definitely have.
Yeah.
But it's more about the message, not necessarily my own experience. It's more about, you can't compare yourself to something you see on your phone because A, they're only showing you the good shit.
Yep.
And B, most of it's not even fucking true.
Yeah.
And so it's like, how can you compare the real you and all the wonderful things that you've done to a story? It's a tale. It's not even, a fact. So
I actually wish we talked about the bullshit that we are. Like,
right.
We're all shitheads, right? There's some part of us that's a shithead. And if you're going to, I think, and I'm probably not the best person to get relationship advice from, but I think if I'm going to have a successful relationship, we have to understand each other's bullshit,
right,
more than all the good stuff.
Absolutely.
Because can I deal with your bullshit, and can you deal with my bullshit?
Right.
Because I do these things that would drive many people crazy.
Exactly.
They drive me crazy, so.
Right. And I mean, and that's one of the things that for John and I, we work well because we can deal with each other's bullshit.
Yeah.
And when I can't deal with his bullshit anymore, I can just go to a different part of the building.
Yeah.
And we both have enough tasks that we can go focus on something else.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
he's not going to follow you and make you deal with his bullshit.
Oh, no. No, in fact, if we start arguing, it's best that one of us just walks away.
Yeah. Well, because it's better to cool off and be like, why the fuck am I even arguing about this thing?
And that's the thing. Like 9 times out of 10, if we're having even a powerful discussion, I'm like, why am I even mad?
Once she realizes that I'm right.
But it's typically something fucking retarded.
Yeah.
It's not even like, it doesn't even make any sense to me. I'm like, why did I jump at, whatever it was?
Well, I get this preconceived notions of how I think something should be done.
Well, yeah.
And it's like, the way it needs to be done is this. And then somebody will say, like, but have you thought of trying it this way? And I'm instantly like, no, we can't
Offended,
do it that way,
yeah.
right? And the minute I feel that, I'm like, okay, give yourself 10 minutes to really think this through, because they might be suggesting something better, and you're just married to your idea because it was your idea.
Right.
What's the outcome you want, right?
Right.
Like, who cares how we get there if the thing that we need to happen happens?
Right.
And that's usually, have you done blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, we're not doing that. But then usually the same thing. I think that, I don't know that it's with everybody, but that definitely happens with me.
Definitely happens with him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the word no it's kind of a joke where, like, you can't be on the team for SRF if John Willis says no to you and you start crying, because John's going to say no if he means no. And I don't want anybody asking you why either. Because,
I'll tell 'em.
well, they don't, it
doesn't
your
matter.
place. So if somebody says, can I don't know, move this thing over there, and you say no, you have a reason. I don't need to know why anymore, because that's a waste of time. It's a waste of your time and a waste of my time. So being able to take a no is important. Being able to say a no is important. And I think both of those skills have just completely been erased from most of our society.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
And that's the thing. It's always no is never no. And boundaries are important, except for if you say no to me, then that's not an important boundary. And that's what the mentality is out there most of the time.
So fucked.
Yeah.
There's so
It's
much
like-
fuckery.
Like, when did we stop learning how to take a no? Because taking a no ain't that hard.
Well, it's the same time they started giving out participation trophies.
Yeah. I swear, I just need to put rooms of people to face each other and just say no to each other.
I think it's programming. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's actually by design.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I don't run into a lot of 50-year-old, 40-year-old people that I have that issue with.
Right.
It's typically
Younger.
people that I just wouldn't be around anyways if
Right.
there's ever an issue like that. Like, I say a lot of things online, and people who I have no fucking clue who they are show up to take issue with what I say.
Yeah.
Like, what do I give a shit? I mean,
I don't even know you.
and that's the problem with a lot of what we have, is that people have developed this through social media. Mm-hmm. When social media started, as well as today, if I don't want to see what Nicole says, I can push a button and never see anything from you again.
Right.
But instead, they don't use that option. They want to report you and cause problems for you, and they want to rally a bunch of people because they're not sure that they're correct in their opinion. So they want to rally a bunch of people. When you have somebody that doesn't like what you're doing, they're going to get a bunch of other people together and convince them to not like what you're doing. But none of those people like each other. Like, they don't have anything in common other than you.
Right.
They came together over you.
That's how bullying works.
Yeah, and it's because they don't want to be wrong. They're not really, they don't have conviction in what they're saying, and they don't have anything else in their life that they have to worry about what you're saying.
Right.
And they continue.
That's a lot of
to
time
watch
wasted.
what you. But that is what everybody has energy, and that's what a lot of people put energy into instead of something that will actually benefit them.
That's actually funny, because I have so many things to do. I wonder how people have time to do
I can't run
like
normal.
a lot of things, like caught up on all the movies. So if you make an actor and actress reference to me, what's going to happen is you're going to get that look.
It's a blank
There's a
look.
blank stare from Nicole, unless it was in the 80s. And even
Right.
then, I might not have known.
Yeah.
It's like the fake accounts, right?
Yeah.
We'll ban somebody for saying something.
Yeah, and then the same
They'll
person.
have another account ready to go with the same avatar picture and say the exact same things because they want you to know, haha, you banned me, but I'm still here.
Yeah.
I can't run my normal day social media accounts the way to the level. I couldn't imagine having a bunch of fake ones.
Oh, man.
Yeah. That's hilarious. That fascist guy that kept, like, we had 2 months of the same guy coming
Right.
up with the same fascism
It's
thing.
the same.
He hasn't been back in a while, but
It's
yeah.
the same dipshits that were like, how much for the couch? How much for the couch? Every time you turn on a Facebook Live,
Yeah.
you would have these groups show up, and they had literally communities where they do like, hey, this person's live, run out and just ask them how much for the couch. It was
Yeah.
a real thing.
Yeah.
Where we would have hundreds of people show. I would just click, ban hundreds of people every night.
Yeah.
That would, because it's fun. Like, you have so little to do in your life. You sit on Facebook and just it's
the answer
bizarre.
is yes.
Yes, they do.
That's
That's
true.
exactly
Yeah.
their life. Yes.
It really is. Yeah, I look at those people as Starbucks employees because that's your Starbucks employee that's having a meltdown that they have to work. Like, just, I'm being very stereotypical there, but like the Kool-Aid hair and they have nothing else to do. It's the meme with the Cheeto guy. You know, you're eating Cheetos and masturbating in your mom's basement, and you've got Cheetos all over your hand and your mouth and your dick. It's those people. Like, that's how I picture those people. And it almost always, it is 1,000% not a successful person.
No.
Well, because they wouldn't bother.
No, they wouldn't have fucked, because successful people
Don't have
time for that.
to be involved in some shit they're not involved in. That's why they're successful.
Yeah.
Well, and I think a lot of those people are on Instagram, they're on Facebook, they're doing these things because they don't have, there's no struggle. There's no hardship. They're not fucking hungry. They're not cold. Their water runs. They've got a fucking roof over their head. They've got a shitty job that they go to, and they have just enough fucking internet to get on there and be an ass.
Well, correct. And they don't put forth effort into that, and it gives them a little bit of endorphin release.
Yes.
Because they get the attaboy from those groups of people that they've never stood in the same room with.
Yes.
My friend, right? When you push them, you're like, my friend. Well, when's the last time you saw your friend? When's the last time you shook friends with your friends? What are your friends' kids' names, right? Well, I don't know. I know them in this group. Oh, so but when was the last time you guys had a meetup? I don't know.
We don't do that.
And that's always
This is why we need meetups.
but that's a lot of it, right?
Yeah.
The survival community groups, not our groups,
Right.
but like groups that were like on AR-15. They would launch these campaigns and talk shit about these other groups and stuff. And I'm like, if you snatched up 100 of those guys and you sawed them, right? You gassed them, and we all woke up in the same room together, and we don't know why we're here. If you took 100 of those dudes, not one of them would recognize each other and figure out what they had in common. If you took our people, and that's what I would say in video, when people were like talking shit in a live feed, I'm like, you could snatch up 100 of us, and 75 of us, when we opened our eyes, we would recognize each other.
Right.
I go, the difference between you guys, like, you're in here doing this nonsense. The difference between you and us is that we actually know each other. We've been in the same places. We've done things together. We've had meals together. And you're here. I go, I don't know why you're here doing this, but what you should do before I ban you is you should just sit here, come back a couple times, and don't make yourself known. You might find that you want to belong to what we're doing. Like, we might be doing something of value that you could benefit from.
Yeah.
Like, you might find that what we're saying actually makes sense. Mm-hmm. And if not, then keep acting a fool, and I'll just remove you from any access to me.
Yeah, I think they wish they were you, though, too.
I don't know about that.
Or they want. So I think a lot of people want to be the YouTube personality or whatever, right? That is a natural result of building a social following. Is that people think, I want to do that, and they haven't figured out how to do that. And really, how to do that is just, I think, be genuine and consistent.
Just do it.
Yeah, and dissing on other people may get you some small attention, but it doesn't get you long-term loyal following.
Right. Yeah. Well, because nobody can stay in that negativity and thrive. Yeah. Like, you just can't.
Yeah, you're poisoning yourself.
Yeah.
It really is. It's like alcohol, right? You can have a drink every night. You need to know that you're fucking poisoning yourself,
right.
though. You are absolutely poisoning yourself.
That was a really hard lesson for me in my life because I really like alcohol.
Right.
And I remember when I quit for 6 months and how I felt.
What do you like about it?
I like how it tastes, but I don't like, so now because I did that quit for 6 months, I drink maybe, well, right now I'm not drinking at all, but I drink maybe once a week a drink or a couple times a week sometimes, depending on what I want to do. But what I know is if I drink a lot or drink consistently, I start feeling terrible. Mm-hmm. And I know that because I stopped for 6 months. What I didn't know is I felt terrible before I stopped because that was my normal.
Right.
And when you redefine it, you're like, oh, it is poison. And I did not want that to be the case because bourbon is so delicious.
Right.
But now I'm like, okay, I'll measure the bourbon out. I'll have my bourbon. I'll have it slow. I'll have it at a time of day that makes sense. And it's delicious. And I won't have half a bottle of bourbon. And then I don't necessarily, then I don't have the hangover. But if I have a bourbon every night for 3 weeks, I'll start feeling terrible.
The fastest way I can make a change in the mirror is to not drink alcohol. And I start to see it in a week. I really see it in 2 weeks. And in 30 days, I look completely different.
Yeah.
Like the difference between cardioing twice a day as opposed to just a few minutes a day, that kind of difference. And I'll have a margarita every night. And I use a cup about this tall. It's got about this much tequila in it, and then I use a lemon lime sugar-free soda. But I was reading the main sweetener, and there's aspartame, right? So I'm like, look up aspartame. I always thought it was aspartame. Yeah. Aspartame is fucking highly poisonous to you. Yes. It actually is wood alcohol, right?
Yes.
So most of these sugar-free sodas that we drink, and we're like, I'm not drinking sugar.
Yeah.
It's actually fucking far worse for you.
Yes, I stay away from all that.
I question whether it's actually even and I don't want to drink just tequila. I like the margarita.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want to drink the sugar-free soda. I want them together with all the salt. So I question whether it's even the tequila or it's actually the sugar-free soda that makes such a huge change so fast in the mirror.
I wonder. Have you tried using sugar instead? Will that mess you up?
I have not. I drink it right before I go to bed.
Yeah.
It could also be the carbonation.
There's actually something very real to the carbonation.
Yeah, there's a lot. They're saying there's a lot of PUFAs in carbonated soda, like commercially available.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
And then have you heard also something that's out?
I like my carbonated water though.
Something I've recently heard.
Not the one out of the machine.
Yeah.
But like commercially,
in the cans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think it's because the carbonation is actually leaching the plastic out also.
Yeah, because it's plastic coated.
So something else I've recently heard is like Pam cooking spray. The propellant in it is propane.
Oh, okay. I don't use that stuff.
Like you're getting a lot of the propelled cans of stuff that we cook with. We don't really hear, but they're literally propane.
That's what bacon grease is for.
Yeah, that's what I use. I literally...
It's like whatever solid fat is left.
We literally cook bacon.
Yeah.
I cooked bacon this morning specifically for grease for him.
Yeah, just for the grease because that's how I cook my chicken eggs.
Yeah.
I'll eat bacon if it's there, but if I'm not out of bacon grease, we're not cooking bacon. Not typically, because I can do eggs in 2 minutes, and it takes me a while to do bacon. So, yeah, I think we have this perception that we're eating healthy, but where do we get that from, right? Because it's marketing.
It's marketing.
And really, if it's more than an ingredient or it's something that you can't pronounce, we're poisoning ourselves.
Well, and then the convenience of that aerosol spray,
Absolutely.
I get why. Yep. They make one you can pump,
and they tell you it's better. Also,
it's better. Well, because it's seed oil, so it's
is Pam seed oil?
Probably.
Oh yeah, it's probably
canola.
Seed oils are fucking terrible.
It's probably canola.
Canola is rapeseed,
which
is the main ingredient in yoga mats.
Yep.
It's you have that.
You're eating yoga mats.
Like chicken McNuggets, it doesn't. Chicken McNuggets don't say chicken anymore. They just say nuggets.
Oh no.
And it's the rapeseed oil. And when you look at a lot of the problems that have come and come onto the playing field, they all coincide right when we started using canola and rapeseed oil. Well, they're the same thing. It's canola is rapeseed oil. It's just a trademark of it.
Yeah. I remember all of the marketing in the 80s about how canola was going to be changing our lives, and
it's changing them all right.
Yes, it is.
But back to what you were saying, like, I don't feel better. This is just I just don't feel as bad, right?
Yeah.
And Huberman says that a lot of times when they get people optimized with their hormones, and you're like, man, I feel so good. No, you don't feel good. This is your minimum. This is just how every human being should be. And he talks a lot about things like circadian rhythm, right? If before 9 a.m. you should sit outside for 15 minutes and face the sun. You can't do this through a windshield. You can't do it through sunglasses. You literally look toward, and you don't have to stare at the sun. Yeah. Just look towards the sun for 15 minutes. And if you miss a day, you need twice as much. But on about the third day, when you do that, it will set you when dudes are like, man, I toss and turn all night, or I can't sleep, or my clock is off. That's how you reset that clock. And there's a lot of things that he says that are actionable that don't cost anything. Like, you don't have to buy my program. Like, if you look at Huberman's Instagram page, every day there's something on there and you're like, holy shit, I wonder if this is true. And you start looking into it. Yep. It is amazing. And I'd say 90% of it is not a thing that you have to buy. It's just something you can do.
Yeah, it's all actionable information that like you can implement right now to start changing your health.
Yeah. I'd say the proper human diet has been the best thing I ever did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That, I don't say it on it all the time, but I would say the last time I was like, oh, I'll eat whatever I want to. That's about the last time that's happening.
Yeah.
But you feel like shit really fast when that
Yeah,
happens.
it's really fast now. And I feel so good when I just eat normal whole foods, basically, and no grains.
Yeah.
Well,
It's like that for me. That's my
yeah.
eating bad is at this point going to be. Oh, I had more potatoes this week than I should have had, or something. It's not.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And it's funny because when you talk to people and you're like, oh, I got this a lot when I was strict carnivore. They're like, so all you eat is meat? And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, so you don't eat any vegetables? And I'm like, no. Not really. You can eat meat and vegetables, but I don't.
Yeah.
The crazy thing is, most of the people when they have that conversation, if you look at them eating, they're not eating like broccoli and stuff,
No,
right?
they're
What they really mean is, so you can't eat French fries. Like most of them, it's like it's yellows and browns that they're having, and I don't know if they're even having. I think a lot of people just have those damn conversations just so they have something to say.
Maybe.
I mean, if you really stand around in a crowd for 15 minutes and you say something and then the next person says their version of the same thing and then the next person, like, what did you walk away with from that? Like, what's the benefit to it? How's it actionable? It's like it's like seeing a person you haven't seen for 2 years and they download you with a bunch of shit about people you don't know. Like, I hear it all the time. Somebody will come tell me, blah, 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 blah. I go, you realize I don't know those people, right? Like, you just told me for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I go, I don't know those people. I'm never going to know those people. And now that you told me, I'm glad I don't know those people. So tell me something that you did today.
Yeah.
I don't care anything about somebody you know that I don't know. Tell me something that involves you. And half the time they'll just walk away.
Yes.
Or they'll stop doing that. And they'll tell me something of value. What happened to you good today? And it like they're just gonna stop.
Yeah, well,
okay,
shock them.
that guy's mean. I don't want to talk to him. Or we're gonna have a different conversation.
Yeah.
Like, give me something of value, or ask me to give you value.
Yeah, it's just like, don't ask Nicole Sauce how she is unless you actually want the answer to that question.
Right.
I mess that up culturally all the time, and now I've decided I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And so when people ask me how I am, I'm not just like, fine, and that's it.
Yeah.
Which is the proper answer. I'll be like, this is what's going on. Sometimes it's good stuff. Sometimes it's bad stuff. You don't know what you're going to get if you ask that question. If I answer it, I don't always answer it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like we're at a point in our lives where we should probably only ask the questions that we are prepared for the answers for.
I don't know about that, or just the ones that you actually give a shit about.
Yeah.
We exchange pleasantries, like when you're at the counter wherever you're at. Hey,
Right.
how's your day?
I'm not going to tell the cashier.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they need to hear it.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. That's a good point. Well, it's just that comes from me living in Germany, where when you ask that question in German, you're actually asking that question. Somebody's kind of touched that you care enough to ask them that question. Right. I mean, you can do the frivolous part too there, but in general, what I learned there was when I ask somebody how they are, they're actually going to tell me. So I need to be careful.
Right. Do I want to stand?
Here and listen
to a person I'm never going to see again?
Right. And so then I got into the habit of answering it, and then I moved back, and I'm back in the English language, and I'm back here. And I would say the first 2 months back, I was ridiculous. I didn't even think you could go grocery shopping after 6 p.m. And people would ask me how I was, and they would get an earful, and then I was like, well, actually, that's okay.
So you can't go grocery shopping after 6 p.m. in Germany?
Well, now the hours have changed, but they had very strict store hours that were government regulated. Why? And so it'd be like Saturday they're open until noon, and then nothing but the gas stations are open again until Monday, and it's just...
Oh, so living in Tennessee is totally normal for you then?
Yeah, well, sort of. But no, we have things open on Sunday. Here's the thing that got me. The freaking county offices are closed at noon on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So the first time I was like, I'm going to go to the county and find out about codes before I buy this place, right, where I live. And I go... And I'm like at the farmer's co-op or something. I said, okay, so where are the county offices? And they're like, well, it's here, but you can't go there. Why can't I go there? Well, it's Wednesday.
We're getting ready for Sunday.
They didn't even tell me anything. They just said, well, it's Wednesday. And then I learned that in my county, you are open Monday, Tuesday all day, Wednesday half a day, Thursday, Friday all day, Saturday half a day, closed Sunday.
Why?
The whole town just did that. They don't do that anymore, but when I moved 15 years ago...
I wonder if it's so that they could go to church on Wednesday.
It could be
like
partially church Wednesday,
something.
and also people who work Monday through Friday have that half-day Saturday to get stuff done that they'd be at work for in theory.
Weird.
It was weird. Yeah, and you know, so the explanation being, well, it's Wednesday. It's like, well, you did not give me enough context there, but I'm not going to ask any more questions.
Like we'd go to, there's no motorcycle shop here,
Yeah.
or there's no real car lots, right? So
Yeah.
we'd go to Murfreesboro or Jackson because there's a Honda shop, or Polaris. They were always closed. Like they're open till 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock on Saturday, and they're always closed on Sunday. And I'm like, how do you guys sell anything?
Yeah.
Like, fucking, we have jobs. Like, we
Yeah.
work.
That's
so,
how we get our money.
Like, I would assume that most of your business has to come from surrounding areas and stuff, because there's more people there, right? But so we would drive into Jackson, and these fucking places would be closed. I'm like, can you just stay? I'm gonna come buy 3 motorcycles. Can you just stay open? And they'd be like, no. Like it was not happening.
Okay.
Whereas coming from San Diego, we'd be at the motorcycle shop or the side-by-sides or whatever, and if you were buying bikes, they'd be there till 10 and 11 till your shit was done.
They would stay.
And that was 7 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I always banked with Wells Fargo because I could go to any, was it Vaughn's had Wells? Any Vaughn's, anywhere, and they were open 7 days a week
They
from
always had a
7 to
bank in
7,
the
and
grocery
I could pull cash out of my account anytime if I needed to go do whatever, to include Saturday and Sunday. But then when you moved here, like,
Nothing's open.
nothing's open.
Yeah.
Nothing is.
I'm sure
Nothing's
Camden has that.
Yeah, I mean, we have enough of a relationship that my bank president will come in on a Saturday if we have to.
Yeah.
But it's just bizarre. And then how, like, the alcohol thing. I don't even buy beer, but just
Yeah.
the fact that I couldn't buy beer on Sunday if I wanted.
Can
to.
you buy it after 12? That's the question. 'Cause
I
some
don't know.
places
I
you
don't-
can buy it
things
after
have,
12.
Things have kind of changed.
It's 11:55 a.m. You may not buy that beer.
So up until about 3 years ago,
Yeah.
you couldn't buy it here at all. Period.
Okay,
It was
yeah,
a
that
dry
my county
county.
was that way too.
And then they changed that, so now you can buy it. But like the liquor stores, there's like 6 days in a year that the liquor stores can't be open. It's like New Year's Day, 4th of July,
I'm sure Christmas is on that list.
Christmas. I'm sure Easter's there. There's I think there's
Thanksgiving,
6
maybe?
of them maybe, and because you're in the Bible Belt.
Yeah,
So in California, they're open
like
every
everything.
day, all the time.
Well, you can get liquor in the grocery store in California.
Yeah.
That's like a big. I
Yeah,
grew up in
everywhere.
Oregon where you had to go to a liquor store
Right.
for liquor.
Yeah, they call them package stores here.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah, and here I remember when wine was not in grocery stores when I first moved, and I was a big wine person then, and I was so pissed off because I'd be like, I'm gonna go buy a steak, and we're gonna get a bottle of shit. We're gonna drive to a different store, and then we're gonna get a bottle of wine to go with the steak, and it was
Weird.
irritating.
Yeah, it's so bizarre.
Yeah.
And now they have wine here in Walmart
Yeah.
in Camden.
During Prohibition, there's all kinds of photos of all the politicians that were enforcing Prohibition, but they were in the speakeasies, right?
Yes, of course.
It wasn't the rules for thee, not for me.
That's been this whole 2020 clot shot, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah, I think that's quickly unraveling right now. You have countries that are asking for extradition
Yeah.
on CEOs of pharmaceutical companies right now because their relatives are still in comas.
Yes.
A big one that came out, I started seeing yesterday, day before, was, I think, Thailand. The premier, which
Yep.
is their prince.
I saw that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
their daughter is in a coma currently, and there was another huge one. There's another one. So who knows, man?
Didn't see that coming, did you?
Yeah. I can't imagine. I can't imagine they didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
I guess when they're like, hey, do this shit that's super illegal and might cause some genocide. Do this thing, and we're always going to be in power. We'll protect you. It's okay.
Well, I'm not the first to jump on conspiracy wagons as a general rule. But the question I still have about that situation is what was in the shot? Like,
Yeah.
what is the actual intention of that shot? Because if they knew it did that much damage and they did it anyway, there's got to be some other reason besides money.
Yes, they
There's a
came
lot of
out and
things-
said that they needed to reduce the world's population by like 80%.
But who is they?
Bill Gates said
Yeah.
it.
Well, right. But how much
Right.
pull does Bill Gates have? Like, so I mean, yeah, I'm
A
not
lot.
disagreeing with you.
Yeah.
But I think it's so much beyond
I think it's
that idiot.
much more insidious than that.
I think there is something to that.
Yeah. The thing is, I can't. So I'm not going to waste time trying to figure out what it is, but I will ask the question, and I will sometimes play that game in my head. Like, have I figured it out yet? Nope, haven't figured it out.
Well, your media is trying to spin that all those effects. I wouldn't even call them side effects, right?
Yeah.
All the things that are happening to people in a negative manner, they're trying to give you reasons for it, like
like chicken eggs.
Yeah, chicken eggs.
The chicken egg bug clot.
We can stop truckloads of eggs coming across the Mexican border, but we won't stop truckloads of immigrants coming across the border. It's just fucking crazy. It's nuts.
Eggs are a sore spot for people.
They really are. Yeah, they really are. And then it's get chickens, and then there's the counter to it. It's highly dangerous to have chickens. You need to know the risks of having chickens.
Salmonella. Yeah, if you wash your hands, you just don't get it.
You used to buy. My mom would talk about when they were children, and I've heard a lot of people that are older than me say you used to be able to go into the 5 and dime store, and they would always have an aquarium of little turtles. And now, when you go to reptile shops, you see little turtles, but it is illegal to sell a turtle that is under the size of a quarter because it's highly dangerous, because small children, and then they touch their mouths and they get salmonella. This is a real thing. This is a real thing.
That means some kid somewhere actually did that, and somebody then lobbied to make that rule.
Yes. Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Somebody didn't...
watch their kid.
Yeah, or somebody got something on their hands.
Yeah.
I mean, I would assume children, when they're very young and you're teaching them to wipe their butts, probably have poop on their hands. Mm-hmm. At some point, I'll bet you if you pulled the numbers of young children that actually get E. coli, I'll bet it's very high compared to any young child if you went back to those years and changed population to make the percentage the same. I'll bet the people wiping their butts are making them way more sick than putting turtles in their mouths. It's just crazy, the shit that it's just the government.
Well, I mean, informal poll. There are 3 of us here. Have you ever put a turtle in your mouth?
I have not.
No,
I have put a turtle in my mouth.
You have. Okay, so 1 out of 3 is the problem. I never have. So it's a 30% risk that this is even going to happen.
And I can't say that I've had salmonella.
Yeah.
He's also put slugs in his mouth.
Well, it's okay.
Don't ever put a slug in your
mouth. I wonder if this is a gender thing.
Maybe.
Probably. I don't ever put a slug in your mouth.
Okay. Yeah, I know I wouldn't.
It took him
I'm also not going to put a frog in my mouth because that seems like a bad idea. Maybe cooked one, but that's different.
It took him 12 hours to get the slime out of his mouth from the slug.
It's pretty wild.
He had a washcloth and he's like...
It's bad. And then we had these African clawed frogs, African clawed toads. They were in the San Diego River Basin, and I'd caught one messing with the kids. And when you touch that, you cannot they have this slime on it. You cannot get it off of you. It's just very viscous. We should use it for lubrication somewhere.
Is that the one that you slapped Dakota with?
No, that was a bullfrog. That was a bullfrog.
I haven't heard from Dakota. Dakota, you need to reach out to me.
Different, our daughter.
Different.
Oh, your daughter. Okay,
so
sorry.
Dakota, the other Dakota was here yesterday, day before. He's doing well.
Yeah.
They're giving him, I don't know if you know where he works. They're giving him a one of the highest, I guess, performance stores.
Sweet.
And he was going over to teach Austin's dog how to be a dog, because Austin's dog rules the roost at Austin's house.
Okay.
And
he's a good dog trainer. I've seen him train
Dakota,
his dog.
he is. Yeah, he is. He's very. It's just, it should be his thing. It's what he really likes to do.
Yeah.
He should be doing dogs of some sort or have some kind of social media for it.
Only we had a friend that had a training course that sets you up to run your own dog training business.
Right.
Yeah, Dakota. I think Dakota is at the point where he has a job that's paying him
way too much.
Sometimes it's hard to walk away.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody else we talked to said that just within the last couple days.
Said what?
Their job pays too much to walk away from it?
Yeah, he wanted to do something, but his day job just gave him a raise,
but he likes money
so much.
I remember the conversation.
I can't remember who it was.
Well, then that's a choice. That's a choice at that point. Yeah.
Yeah. Then stop.
It's not a bad reason to make that choice.
Then stop telling me you want to do something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stop interjecting and inserting yourself into the conversation.
But my Dakota, she's fine. She's
never met.
I've never met her.
She's 36 weeks pregnant, I think.
Oh yay!
They said she's gonna have this baby within the next 2 weeks. So.
Are you gonna be there or no?
No. We've already had that discussion.
Yes.
She can come here and have the baby if she wants.
No.
That's your answer to everything. If you want to see the Willises, you have to come here.
It is because I mean, if it's not I haven't been to wherever it is they're at, so
if it's not a priority,
whoever that person is,
yeah,
we're busy. Our shit works because we do what we do.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. I mean, as I said, I don't leave the holler usually unless there's a compelling reason to. Mm-hmm. And I totally get why you don't want to leave here, or, when you do leave, you're doing something that you want to do.
We've left here to go to your place.
Yes, I know. I appreciate that.
I've been to your place.
I'm honored that you've been to my place.
I've been to your place more than I've probably been to any other place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can't say that we've been to anybody else's house other than the Jaegers more than we've been to yours.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I come here a lot because it's worth coming here every time I come here. It was funny. The first time I met you, I was driving home, and I said, he thinks really fast, which is super refreshing, because it's like all of that happens and you think really fast. And when I've had a conversation with people whose minds move that quickly, I leave like buzz of energy and I go do super productive stuff. Wherein if I talk to somebody whose mind works way slower, I start absorbing that energy. Yeah. That was my first observation. I was like, that was great. It was just like boom, 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 boom.
It's like the battery thing.
That's how I think of weed, right? Marijuana.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I could totally be around people every day that smoke weed, and maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like it just slows you down, mellows. Amen. Like Otto, the bus driver from The Simpsons. Like that guy doesn't have a place on my team. Like maybe I just don't know. But that's kind of how I feel about that. Like, and I could be completely wrong. I've never smoked weed, but that's kind of like that, like hippies. Mm-hmm. I can't, like, because I'm going to catch something from everybody I'm around, so I don't want to slow down. I want the faster dude, but I don't want the faster twitchy dude,
That's a different kind of fast.
Yeah.
That's the wrong kind of fast. Yeah, that one's not a good.
Exactly.
I have smoked pot 3 times. I waited till I was in my 30s to try it for the first time, smoked pot, ate nachos, and went to sleep. And they were like...
probably the best experience.
Yeah, so Nicole, they were like, Nicole, no, that's just because it was the first time. So I tried the second time, ate nachos, and went to bed. And they're like, okay... It's because you didn't try the good pot. So then the third time...
Maybe it was the nachos.
Because I don't freaking learn. I'm like, I don't need something that makes me eat more food. Right. I really don't. That's, especially nachos. They're not exactly Canberry approved. Counterproductive. And I'm going to sleep. Third time, I smoke pot and I get the spins, I get nauseous. And for 3 hours, I'm sitting in a chair afraid to move.
Yep.
Trying not to throw up. And at that point, I decided I would not try a 4th time.
Maybe it was the insulin spike from the nachos that made you
I didn't eat anything that time. I was just, oh my gosh. Yeah, it could have been. Yeah.
Weird.
I've never smoked pot. Yeah. I hit a THC vape pen 1 hit, and I got that dizzy feeling.
Yeah,
like John had to guide me to bed, and I was like, I'm never doing that shit.
Yeah, that's a terrible idea. See, I don't really like laughing gas. So I tried laughing gas at the dentist for the first time, and I'm like, can you just turn that off, please? Because it made my heart kind of beat, and I'm all dizzy. I was like, this is not making me more relaxed. I feel like I'm having an anxiety attack now. So never mind. Yeah.
Wild.
The dentist's like, it'll make you feel like you had a glass of wine. I was like, that is not what a glass of wine makes me feel like. Next time I'll just have a glass of wine if you need me to do that.
I'm going to go to sleep if I drink.
Yeah. That's what it's for. It's a depressant.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, I guess it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a sedative.
Although it will sugar spike you at night. So.
No. Tequila has no carbohydrates, Nicole. I tell people that all the time.
None.
Like, it's going to become sugar somewhere. Yeah. I'm like, I'm fine with I just need you to know that. Like, I don't care what you do. Just as long as you know that. I know that every time I drink, I'm poisoning myself a little bit. I
occasionally have a cigar like once a year.
Yeah.
And I'm completely not a smoking person. Like, don't like smoke, don't like being around smoke.
So what does that look like when Nicole has a cigar?
It just looks, you'll just have to.
But you're not like by yourself, probably.
No, I mean, we're sitting around the campfire. Somebody brings cigars. I have one. The key is I like little cigars because I will not finish one of those big ones.
Right.
So it's either you have to be sitting next to me and you get the rest of it, or something, because I have a limited amount of cigar.
But you also have a cup of bourbon with you at the same time.
Not always, but sometimes.
Yeah.
Not always, but sometimes. But it's like that flavor in the mouth. I sort of understand it, and I understand why people do it. I wouldn't do it every day, though.
Okay.
And I can't finish a whole one because there is nicotine in that, and the nicotine buzz is not comfortable. So I'm like, okay, we've ended up here.
And we're done.
Surprising for a lady that drinks a fair amount of coffee.
Right, yeah.
Well, it's a different kind of stimulant.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with my coffees.
So what's up with the coffee business?
I adding employees now.
Very nice.
How many?
Right now, just one.
What does that look like?
Well, it frees me up to do more of the marketing and sales and getting the outreach done. And she has worked for me for a year now. So I've been teaching her how to roast for a year. And she's trustworthy and the kind of person I want. So that's, for me, I had to have that level of trust on quality of product to where you can't discern if I roasted or she roasted.
Especially if she can burn your shit down by making a mistake.
Right. Well, that, and I mean, I don't want to burn customer relationships because they got something that was just tasted like crap.
I wasn't even thinking about that.
Yeah. So what that looks like, it was just, I was talking earlier, it's like I got to this point where I'm trying to do 3 businesses at once by myself with Mama Sauce, and that's it. Because I haven't loved having employees in the past, because you end up looking at this person who's older than you sometimes, like might be looking at somebody 10 years older than me who's acting like they're 12. And I'm sitting there and the voice in my head's like, don't say it, Nicole. Don't say it. But you want to say it. It's like, why are we 12 today?
What the fuck are you doing?
Right. And that's not usually how I approach interpersonal relationships.
That's my human resources department.
Yeah, that is your human resources department. And as a result, I learned this lesson the hard way. I have let people linger too long. Mm-hmm. And so when I left my last position, it was a position where I was in that sort of hiring, firing mode, and I had been just totally taken advantage of by multiple people, which is not their fault. That's my fault. So I know squarely where that responsibility is. I was like, I'm never doing it again. I don't want to deal with the bullshit. I don't want to deal with the fighting. I don't want to deal with, all of that, the not showing up at the last minute for no good reason and not telling me, like, all of the crap that can happen. And then my business got to where it got this year. It started happening in October. So I have not gone, since I met you two, I haven't gone as long between coming out here in person as I have since the last it's been since the last Self-Reliance Festival.
Wow, yeah.
Well, you were really, really busy this time.
I was really, really busy because I was refusing to hire somebody. So I was just working all the time, and I was like, okay, come on. If I want to have a life, too, and do the things I want, I'm going to have to hire somebody. So I just...
How'd you find him?
Well, she's somebody I met at the farmer's market. And then I have somebody helping me with marketing right now that has just started, and we're sort of doing a test project. And we'll see. But cool. What I want help with some of the... Because I'm marketing several brands, I want help with individual brand marketing. Mm-hmm. And I want that production operational level help. Cool. Those are the 2 areas I'm looking at. And then like figuring out how to template that out is important. So I need sort of like on the marketing side, I need somebody who's high level and good and expensive and not somebody who's just following an assembly line. Mm-hmm. Right. And then, conversely, it's somebody else that's,
What's up? He's ready for you. Okay. Who's he ready for? You guys. Okay. All right. Okay. Go ahead and pause that.
It was funny, the first couple of weeks we didn't have this rug in here, and so I would sit over there and I would all
roll into each other.
I would be like braced against the floor from rolling.
We'd be like, your back would be tweaked that night. I'm like, why are my legs so sore?
We'd be rolling into each other back and forth.
That's great.
We didn't fix the problem. We just put a rug.
No, I'm telling you, I'm gonna see Ken on Saturday. I'm gonna look him in the eyes and be like, when?
Yeah,
when?
Okay, so mission complete. You have accomplished everything you came out here to do.
Almost.
What's left?
I just finished inventorying things that are in the shipping container for Self-Reliance Festival, and I'm going to unload my car now.
Cool.
So I now have a list of everything here categorized by box that has a packing slip in it. So when somebody says, hey, how can I help? I'll be like, go find all the things on this piece of paper and put it in that box, and then put that box over there.
Awesome.
It took me 4 festivals to figure that system out.
So
back to I don't do my system at the beginning. I'm like, oh, I need a system.
So SRF is in 5 weeks.
Yes.
So really, it'll feel like 1 week.
Yeah. So Self-Reliance Festival is next week for me, as near as I can tell.
Yeah.
Well, when Dawn was here, she's like, "Are you excited for SRF?" And I was like,
"What?
Oh, that's like tomorrow." I was like, "That's
came really fast,
coming up really quick."
Yeah.
What's Gorham's name?
Dawn.
Dawn. That's what I thought. Yeah.
So we have the Jennifers and we now have the Dawns.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
So we're just trying to keep it easy name-wise right now.
Her event looked like it went pretty well.
Yeah, it went great. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, she's got a really cool thing going on over there.
Good.
So.
Right on. So tons of people coming.
Tons of people coming.
Tons of people presenting.
Yes.
A lot of physical displays, like actual stuff happening.
Yeah, stuff happening, people doing real things. And, this is where I brought in marketing help, because we've been marketing this event it's gone well, right? Where you take control of your life and you start learning skills and you come here and you show that you've made progress every time. And it's become kind of a cool thing that we're doing here. And we teach you how to be, start your journey towards prepping if you haven't, in a way that will empower your life, whether or not whatever disaster you're afraid of happens. And that's a little bit different than a lot of other prepper festivals. But the thing that's really different here is that small business, or this business startup aspect, and taking an assessment of your whole, your spirit, your body, your skills, your finances, all of it. And so I was having a little trouble this time, like, what's the hook this time? And so I reached out to somebody who does product marketing for really large corporations. And I said, hey, I really need some help. Can you help? And he said, sure. And so that's just, probably last night's email was the first time you're starting to see this consistent message. And we're really focusing in, as we looked at the presentations, there's a lot of off-grid. And right now there's a lot of fear of the vulnerability of our electric system. And so then how do you implement off-grid into your life in a way that makes sense? It hedges against if there's a problem, if somebody decides to shoot up a substation or or a tree falls in the wrong place, or tornadoes come through, or ice, or whatever it is. And it empowers your life in that, life done free. This is why I love TAG.
That's who I thought of when you said that.
Yeah, he's great. And he's doing, every time you are not dependent on buying the utility from the utility provider, electric, water.
More and more can just turn you off.
Right. Who can turn you off. The better off you are if you do it. If you don't spend like $700,000 to do a thing that's only saving you $50, right? And there's so much progress in technology along the off-grid world that you can actually do it, where in 10 years ago it was harder. Mm-hmm. And every year it's easier. And then we pair that with somebody like Paul Wheaton, who's going to be speaking. And he's all about natural building. He's going to come out and talk about a Wafati, which is a very energy efficient building style that is accessible and something you can do without doing the Earthship thing, which is cool. But if you do that by yourself, you're looking at years of time to build one. I know somebody who started building one in Tennessee, and 2 years in, she was like, this is how long it takes me to pack a tire.
That's what Jack said. He goes, you never meet one of those guys that can show you the house done.
Yeah. And that's why. So I think that pairing's cool, but then we've also got, tactical presentations. Dana's coming in and talking about assessing your home for home defense. So it's not just guns, but I'm sure guns are involved, but there are other things you should be thinking about beyond that.
Deterrent.
Yeah, we've got Joel Riles talking about how to protect against the most 3 common things that could happen to you. And then he'll, of course, have his dogs here for demos and that sort of thing. We've got, distilling for fuel, as we always do, which is that guy's always got people all around him. I haven't heard from Dakota about blacksmithing. I'm hoping he'll be here.
So he was here the other day, and he's like, I'm going to talk to her about doing distilling. I'm like, I think we got a guy. So
we got a guy.
Make sure you get with her and talk to her. So while you said, like in the beginning of that, you said people on their prepper journey or their homestead journey, but a moment more and how to incorporate that into everyday life, or to how to make your life that, right? And that's where that job, how to start the business, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's the big thing I always say. They're like, what should I start social media? Yes, because it is another source of revenue, right?
Yes.
And then, like you'd said, tag, the solar stuff is just becoming so much more readily available. And a good example of why you might want that or actually need it, like so many people have moved to Tennessee here, especially people that sold their houses for 2-3 times over value from the coast,
Right.
move out here, snatched up 100 acres of property, 200 acres, and they're like, okay, time to build. And the contractors are like, all right, 5 years.
Yeah, 5 years from now we'll start.
So everybody's buying tiny houses, so much so, and you're seeing this. I would assume it's happening. We just happen to have kind of the inside line on this. It's not really being put out public. When you're going to energize these tiny houses, the power company won't connect power to you. So what has really happened is the mobile home sales have tanked, and those people have all leaned on government, and government has said, okay, well, the way we can do this is you're not allowed to hook power up to a tiny house if it doesn't have a DOT number. So if it basically doesn't have a VIN number on it, that's why you can move in. It's fine to move in a tiny house as long as it's $100,000 tiny house and it's on wheels, right? That's fine. We're good to go with that bullshit. Yeah. But you can't bring in your tiny house and build it out yourself. No, you can't have power. So you can do whatever you want. They just won't hook power to it. So screw you guys. We'll go solar. Fuck you. We won't pay you.
And then it's like, then how can they get in your way on the septic permit at that point?
Yes.
Because it's not like we won't hook up power until you have your septic.
Toilet.
Yeah, composting toilet.
Yeah, and
done.
they will too. It's allowed versus able. Don't tell them you fucking did it.
Yeah. Well, so in the Tennessee code, composting toilets are allowed. And there is
No, I'm not even talking.
But it's, you try to get your county to do that, they're like, no, it's not allowed because we don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, don't even tell them you did it. Don't ask.
No, right. Yeah, no, composting toilets are great.
Yeah.
But yeah. So anyway, that's all at selfreliancefestival.com. I'm excited about that. Bear Independent's going to be out again, and counter to what he usually talks about, I asked him to talk because have you seen his CEO series on YouTube? I asked him to do that.
Yeah.
I said I want to hear that from you, Bear, because he has built basically 3 mission-based businesses that are also successful financially, and that's really cool.
Yeah.
And that's somebody I want to hear that from. So
Bear and I consume the same content.
Yeah.
And we speak similarly.
Yes. You do.
Yeah, I appreciate all of Bear's messages. Yeah. I actually watch his stuff. Like usually when I come in and I'm been out doing animals and stuff, I come in, I'm going to clean up and now work an actual work day. That's usually what I'm listening to is Morning Brief or whatever he's put out.
Right.
That's typically, we talk back and forth.
Yeah. So I think that's going to be cool. The Responder 1 medical training on Friday before is going to be badass.
Yep.
And I'm a little sad that I'm setting up the event that day because I was like,
surely
wonder if I can sneak away for 4 hours.
Surely you can sneak away for a few minutes.
We'll see.
Go over and see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Awesome. Well, glad to see you.
Yeah, it's good. Thanks for letting me come out again.
This is the first time we've actually sat down and, in here at least.
That's true.
We recorded upstairs before. But just thought we'd put some words out for you guys to listen to, and hope number one, we entertained you. Hope that we have educated you in some manner, and hope that we can equip you. That's our call to action. So I have you can find me anywhere. Just find me and give us a thumbs up wherever you're listening to this at. And Nicole she has 100 ways you can get a hold of her.
Yes, at least.
Give her some money though. Buy her coffee. It's the best coffee you've ever had. So number one, do that, and then tell them where they can hear all of you.
Yeah, so livingfreeintennessee.com is the website of my podcast, and it leads to all other things. And if you love coffee, that's hollowroast.com. It's mail-ordered coffee in the U.S., and it's delicious.
And because it's freshly roasted.
It's freshly. I roast everything to order, so it's not going to ship the same day you order it because I need to roast it after you order it, and then I will ship it to you.
That's why it's so different.
That's why it's so different, and that's why it's delicious. Plus, I use air roasting technology, which cuts that harsh, smoky, burnt flavor that a lot of coffees have, a lot of commercial brands. The technology is different. It's called fluid bed roasting, and it makes a smoother coffee, usually less harsh on the stomach. That's at hollowroast.com. And of course, you should come to Self-Reliance Festival. We talked today about meeting people in person. And if you're sitting there kind of feeling alone right now, like I'm the only one who thinks this way in my network, you need to change your network. The best way to change your network is come meet people. Camden, Tennessee is a great place. There's camping on site included for a $75 ticket. And you're going to meet somebody here if you come. Absolutely. If you don't come, you won't meet anybody.
Absolutely.
And it's going to help you build that life you don't need that vacation from, like we were talking about before.
Yeah.
And Nicole will send you feet pics also. They might not. They won't be her feet. But
Probably
she'll
not my
send-
feet.
But she'll
Yeah.
send you some feet pics.
They're gonna be like goat feet and
Now
pig
I'm gonna
feet.
have to. I'm gonna make a foot banner.
All right, guys. Awesome. And we will talk to you next time.
Oh, they changed
Those
it.
motherfuckers.
Trying to tear us down,